the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies and show you how they were made. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at MaXXXine, released in 2024. MaXXXine is the third and final installment in the X trilogy from writer-director Ty West. The middle movie was a prequel that gave us the backstory for X's villain, Pearl. MaXXXine takes us forward again to continue the story of X's final girl, Maxine Minx. After making a name for herself in adult entertainment, she's looking for her big break in 1985 Los Angeles. Much like The City, the film's tone is seedy and dark, with a cultural backdrop of satanic panic, Reagan-era unrest, and the Night Stalker's reign of terror. Ty West was already thinking about Maxine when he pitched Pearl, and knew from the start that he wanted to make a trilogy, A24's first. He wrote the script over the summer between X and Pearl's releases. He lived in this trilogy's world non-stop until Maxine came out.
I've been working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day since X on these movies, so I think it has been about 4.5 years.
While the first two films were shot back-to-back in New Zealand, Maxine was filmed much later on location in Los Angeles. Mia Goth reprised the role of Maxine and served as an executive producer. Maxine is another stylistic change from the films that came before it. X took inspiration from 70s exploitation films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Pearl was a warped nightmare version of Golden Age Technicolor films. Maxine, meanwhile, is built on a foundation of 80s films about Los Angeles, like Brian De Palma's Body Double, Angel, and St. Elmo's Fire, which gets referenced a few times. There's also a heavy dose of Italian giallo here, specifically the trope of a mysterious black-gloved knife-wielding killer. I absolutely loved X and Pearl. They were two of my favorite horror movies of 2022. Maxine is... it's alright. It's definitely bigger than the previous two films, which were mostly self-contained. This is a big city picture, and probably Ty West at his most commercial, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I like that he gets to stretch his filmmaking muscles. It's a huge contrast to his earlier quiet indie work. But a lot of the side characters feel underdeveloped, introduced and killed off in subsequent scenes. And I wanted to see Maxine do more herself. She feels a little passive, especially in the film's final act, which has plenty of its own issues. But I still enjoyed the movie and its gritty look at a sleazy LA. Goth is great as always, as are some supporting players, especially Kevin Bacon. I like that it's entirely different than X and Pearl, and the style goes well with the city and industry it portrays. It's admittedly a little inside baseball sometimes, but for someone in the entertainment industry, it's a lot of fun. So, while I wouldn't call it a masterpiece like X and Pearl, I think it's a strong enough conclusion to an insanely ambitious trilogy. There aren't many filmmakers who could pull off what West and Goth did, and they should be proud of their accomplishment. Well, this... Hello?
Where is it, James? Where's the Bombus foot?
What? Who is this? Are you talking about today's sponsor, Bombus? The makers of socks, underwear, and t-shirts that are comfortable and durable thanks to premium materials like merino wool and extra-long staple cotton? You know, the company that's devoted years of research and development to crafting their socks with built-in arch support and none of those annoying toe seams? The company that makes the most comfortable socks I've ever owned?
Exactly. Now give me what I want, James, or I swear I'll hurt her. I'll hurt her real bad.
But you don't need me for them. You can just go to their website. And right now, they're even offering their holiday drop with all new fuzzy socks, cozy slippers, and cashmere merino wool blend socks. So they're stocked with everything to treat yourself or your loved ones to a great gift this holiday season.
Oh, I know, James. I know everything about Bombus, about their commitment to giving back by donating over 150 million essential clothing items to those in need, about one purchase equaling one item donated. But what I don't know about the Bombus foot is that precious code that gets new customers 20% off their purchase.
Wait, our discount code? Is that what this is all about? Well, that's easy. You and any new customers can get 20% off their first purchase by going to bombus.com/killcount and using code DEADMEAT20 at checkout.
That better be true, James. For her sake.
Okay. Does this Triple X trilogy's final chapter have 3 times the kills as its predecessors? Let's find out and get to them. The movie begins with a grainy home video from 1959, where mini Maxine performs a very Pearl-like routine. Behind the camera, her doting dad tells her she'll be a star of the church one day, as long as she lives by their shared motto.
I will not accept a life I do not deserve.
So he's who we have to thank for the line we've been seeing and hearing this whole trilogy.
I will not accept a life I do not deserve.
I do not deserve.
Giant Hollywood soundstage doors open into a referential aspect ratio, visually tying this threequel to its predecessor, predecessors and their opening shots. In struts Maxine, a whole lot blonder and ready to move on from the porn industry.
Did you always want to be in that line of work?
I always wanted to be famous.
She's here to audition for a horror movie, a sequel called The Puritan 2. It's directed by an English filmmaker named Elizabeth Bender.
Is that your real accent?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we're having an accent off, eh? Maxine's acting chops impress the director as she delivers a powerful off-book monologue. It's hilarious that a lengthy Mia Goth monologue, which was the climax of Pearl, is done within the first 5 minutes of Maxine. Even more of a flex is when they show how quickly Goth can turn it on and off.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
She's bared her soul, but still has to bear more, so she pays the titty tax and leaves feeling confident.
Y'all might as well go home because I just fucking nailed that.
Goth was inspired by Debbie Harry's I don't give a fuck attitude in interviews, and brought that casual confidence to her performance. She hops into her convertible and drives off, telling the other girls to eat title card. It's 1985, and to make sure you know it, here's the most 1985 montage you can imagine. Ronald Reagan, cocaine, satanic panic, and last but not least,
The Night Stalker. The Night Stalker.
Night Stalker.
Night Stalker.
Maxine is set in 1985 because it was the peak of moral panic surrounding metal music and horror movies. Add in the Night Stalker's presence, and Ty West thought it made the ideal year for his LA set horror film.
If I had made it the year before, the backdrop would have been the Olympics, and that's less appropriate.
Maxine gets to work at the Landing Strip, a multi-pronged business that offers Sunday brunch, airline pilot strippers, and a backroom porn production. I'm sure one of their endeavors will eventually take off. She gets changed for work as her coworker Amber complains about her scene partner's stamina.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it should not be that hard to fuck me. I was supposed to be in Toluca Lake an hour ago.
Amber's played by Chloe Farnworth, who gave one of my favorite performances in recent years in 12 Hour Shift. She invites Maxine to a party in the hills, but Maxie's working her other job tonight. She will not rest until she's famous, thanks to her can-do attitude and, ceramic goose load of cocaine. Wonder if Mr. Goose would approve. She rushes home between gigs to pack an outfit and a gun, where she gets a call from her agent, Teddy Knight Esquire. He's the best agent in the world, with the worst wig in the world, and he gives her great news. She got the part in Puritan 2. Teddy's played by Giancarlo Esposito in a very non-Giancarlo Esposito role. It's so nice to see him in a fun hammy role, as opposed to the stoic Gus Fring light characters we usually see him play. Maxine takes off for her second job, treating us to another montage that shows off the devilish side of the City of Angels. The peep shows, the drug deals, the unauthorized characters on Hollywood Boulevard. The montage also includes a cameo from West's dog, who's part Shih Tzu and named Molly. Wow, he's just like me, for real.
She does a lot of ADR work with her barks.
What a good girl. The sequence looks grimy, gritty, and authentically 80s in a way that's hard to capture. Some shots look ripped straight out of Angel, like literally. West wanted to avoid the brightly lit, colorful leg warmers version of the 80s often seen in media, so this is more Repo Man than Buns of Steel. They actually filmed on Hollywood Boulevard, shutting down a whole block of it for 4 nights to dress it with period cars and signs. Shooting in LA came with pros and cons. It allowed Goth to go home to her newborn daughter every day, and gave production access to landmarks like the Walk of Fame and the Vine Theater. But they had to make LA look like its seedier 80s self, and work around annoying restrictions on shooting in Hollywood.
The irony that Hollywood has no interest in you shooting movies here.
Desultory jazz takes us into show world, where Maxine works as a show girl. Here, customers can buy a ticket for some yeek yeek whoop whoop and watch them playing around. Because much like Luda, we in the red light district. A quarter in the slot buys a peek at a pretty young thing. Wait, only a quarter? How the hell do they cover their overhead? Maxine's performance gets one black gloved dude so bothered he has no idea what to do with his wood. Come on, mystery man. Do you have any idea how many quarters that's gonna cost to replace? After work, Maxine talks to her coworker Tabby, played by musician Halsey doing a New York accent.
I know a killer after hours spot in the hills if you're interested.
But once again, Maxine eschews the party life for work, since she has a fitting for Puritan 2 in the morning. Halsey heads off to that killer party in the hills, as Maxine puts a cigarette out on the Walk of Fame, specifically the star belonging to Theda Bara, the silent film star who Pearl named her alligator after. On the walk home, Maxine hits a dead end in an alleyway, and doesn't notice the dreadful Droog behind her. It's a Buster Keaton cosplayer who was shown looking shady in that 80s montage. He threatens Maxine and pulls a knife on her, but turns out he brought a knife to a gunfight.
Strip.
What?
A what?
She forces him to deep throat her gun and get on the ground.
Face down, ass up.
That's the way she likes to get rough. She recaps the end of X for him.
Do you know what happened to the last person who tried to kill me? I crushed her fucking head.
Then takes her heel and crushes his head and Clockwork Orange's. Oh, we get 2 close-ups of the testicle torture and a taint shot of the guy's mangled dick and balls. This is the most fucked up dick trauma I've seen since the movie Porno. Yes, there's a horror movie called Porno. We did a Patreon commentary track on it. Maxine gets home and falls asleep on the couch with her best friend Leon. He works at the video store downstairs from her apartment, and she feels like she can trust him.
You like me because I'm the only guy who isn't trying to fuck you.
He's played by Moses Sumney, who's a musician, but much like Kid Cudi and X, he does a great job with this role. Some fun line deliveries.
Ass sandwich.
Maxine is awoken by a knock at her door where a mysterious package is waiting for her. She opens it to find a VHS tape. Oh, come on, I thought we were done with that franchise. The tape is evidence she probably hoped was long gone by now. A copy of her sex scene in The Farmer's Daughter, that porn that never quite wrapped production in X. The tape was dropped off by John Labatt, a skeezy private dick played by Kevin Bacon with a crazy accent.
Now you asked me to find that girl, which I did. But whatever sick shit you got planned next, that's more than we bargained for. So if you still need my help out here, the price is going up.
His unseen client is Mr. Giallo Gloves from Show World, who's made a sinister tape featuring Maxine's co-workers Amber and Tabby. Who is this mystery man? Well, I think if you don't get too invested, you'll like the movie more. So, yeah, just try not to worry about it. Maxine needs a head cast for Puritan 2, so she visits the workshop of an effects artist played by Sophie Thatcher, wearing her uniform colors. Go Yellow Jackets! She goes to get more bandages, leaving Maxine on her own. Wait, no breathing straws or nothing? As the alginate solidifies and drips, it begins to resemble Pearl's aged face in X. With the claustrophobic head cast forcing her to be alone with her traumatic memories, Maxine begins to panic. Good thing she can't see all the reminders of X around her, like a head in a cowboy hat with its eyes poked out like Wayne, a torso with bullet holes in the chest like Jackson, a man missing his head like RJ, and a girl missing her face like Lorraine. I know they're blurry and in the background, but this isn't just me reaching. West himself pointed these out on Vanity Fair. Maxine succumbs to her anxiety and falls backwards, with all the other masks laughing at her. Unlike her character, Goth didn't mind sitting for the head cast.
I quite liked being in there that day. Sometimes it feels like a little hug.
She had already done it for X and Pearl with Weta Workshop, which came in handy for Maxine's signature face freckles. Makeup designer Sarah Rubano used the Weta head mold to make a clear vac form mask as a freckle stencil. It made things much faster and more consistent than having to apply them by hand. 2 detectives arrive at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, where Tabby and Amber's bodies have been dumped and branded with pentagrams. Williams, played by Michelle Monaghan, is a true detective who's serious about her job. Her partner Torres, played by Bobby Cannavale, is a bit more dramatic.
It's like they did that with a fucking cattle prod.
And the coroner here is played by Toby Huss, old sticky dick himself.
I got peanut butter on my penis.
Maxine finds a note on her car with a phone number and a picture from when she was a kid. Didn't think they'd have yearbooks in the, traveling tent school I assumed she attended. She calls the number and agrees to a meeting where she finds Kevin Bacon just sizzling sleaze.
Boy, you look a whole lot taller in person. I guess I only ever seen you lying on your back.
John Labatt introduces himself as a private investigator from New Orleans. To play this big sleazy from the Big Easy, Bacon watched YouTube videos of New Orleans police officers, politicians, and private eyes. He even took a solo road trip to Louisiana to work out his character's backstory. Labatt tells Maxine he knows about the Texas porn star massacre and its victims, including
Howard and Pearl Douglas.
It feels wrong for Pearl to have a last name. It should be a mononym, like Madonna. Maxine tries to pay him off, but Labatt's client ain't after money. He just wants her to come to a party in the hills. And if she doesn't, he'll expose her past.
How's that old saying go? You never work in this town again.
Maxine gets home where her bad luck continues, since detectives Williams and Torres are waiting for her. They play good cop, douche cop as they ask about Amber and Tabby, but Torres goes a little too hard.
Oh, that bullshit bravado. No wonder you never made it as an actor.
Unlike Maxine, who's got a meeting on a studio backlot.
I'm Maxine Minx.
Yes, you are.
Fun cameo there by Larry Fessenden, prolific indie horror director who last appeared on The Kill Count in You're Next. This backlot is the glamorized version you always see in movies, with costumed extras marching around from set to set. Though it may seem Pee-wee's Big Adventure, their World War I uniforms are reminiscent of a young Howard at the end of Pearl. The lot's also buzzing with Puritan 2 protesters, whining that horror movies and Satanism are corrupting the youth. Maxine gets a golf cart tour from her director Elizabeth Bender, played by the absolutely stunning Elizabeth Debicki. She explains the main tenet of her artistic vision. She wants Puritan 2 to be a meaningful piece of art, rather than more standard horror schlock.
A B-movie with A ideas.
Which is something that could be said about another letter, X. Bender likes Maxine so much, she even shows her the motel from Psycho.
It's a motel from Psycho.
Yeah, we know. Everyone knows. As Maxine looks at the house, she sees a vision of Pearl in the window, looking just like she did when she first saw her in X. Psycho was referenced in X during an argument between Lorraine and RJ, so West wrote this scene before getting permission to film at the location. He thought it was important that Maxine visit a horror movie landmark on her journey to becoming a scream queen. They got approval from Universal and the Hitchcock estate, though they did have to reroute the tram tour during filming.
There is kind of a tourist tour that goes through there, and so we did have to reroute that a little bit. So, apologies to anyone who came on vacation and didn't get to see the house.
It's a good thing they got approved, because West didn't have a backup if they said no. Bender tells Maxine to get rid of distractions, like, private dicks trailing and taping her. She puts her keys between her fingers and calmly asks Labatt to please leave her alone. Pretty please? With sugar on top? She goes to see her knight on shining exercise bike, who's decked out in a sweatsuit. Finally, a movie that remembers Giancarlo Esposito as Italian. She tells Teddy everything, and he promises to handle it. He just wants her to be the amazing actress he knows she is. It's an unexpectedly sweet relationship between agent and client.
Hey, Maxine, minx.
With his encouragement, she heads home to learn her lines and do some lines. Maybe the coke is why she's highlighting so aggressively. All right, lady, it's yellow! Downstairs at the video store, Leon finishes his Fangoria and goes to close up for the night. Too bad Mr. Giallo's already inside. He slices the back of Leon's neck and stabs him in the back with his knife, spraying all those precious videotapes with blood. He finishes by ripping out his upside-down cross earring. The next morning, Maxine comes downstairs to find the cops wheeling out Leon's bloody body. Wait, what the fuck, Williams? You can't just show a dead body like that! You just Daniel isn't real the whole crowd of people! A distraught Maxine joins them at the police station, where Williams tells her to have some coke and smile. Just not her usual kind of coke. Ow. The detectives ask her why she's a commonality between these three Night Stalkery murders. Williams tries to get Maxine to help save the next girl's life, but this final girl doesn't want to play the hero.
Maybe she should save herself. I did.
Maxine gets to set late, so Elizabeth steps all over her, not in the way you'd want her to either. She warns Maxine that she only gets one second chance, just like Molly, star of the first Puritan movie, who has an unlikely return in the sequel.
I was quite literally burnt to a crisp in the last film, and here I am resurrected, a working actor.
We only see glimpses of the Puritan duology, like Molly eating this blood apple, but West did write out the general storylines and main character arcs of the Puritan and the Puritan 2. Puritan star Molly is played by Lily Collins, whose accent fluctuates wildly, but hey, that might just be her character putting up a front.
My charred corpse's scream has been immortalized in cinema history. I mean, how many girls from a council estate in North Yorkshire can say that?
Is that your real accent?
I don't think it is. Maybe it'll get more consistent with time, though. I mean, this is only her first scene.
I was invited to a big party in the hills for some out-of-town producer.
Oh, never mind, she did. Maxine wanders onto the Old West set, where she finds John Labatt rocking a Chinatown nose bandage. He says this MacLeod ain't big enough for the two of them, ushering in a standoff like the one Jimmy Fallon had against himself in the tram tour video.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us, Jimmy Fallon.
Well, I ain't going anywhere, Jimmy Fallon.
He chases her through the fake streets and back to the Bates Motel. When I first saw this scene, I thought he was gonna follow her inside and get pushed down the stairs in an homage to Psycho. I mean, it seems so obvious. He's even a detective. But instead, Maxine just hides and he gets busted by Larry Fessenden. Pretty anticlimactic. All things less Giallo and more Looney Tunes. Still, she's sick of Labatt giving her the blues. Sick of it affecting her job, too.
Whatever's going on in your life that's interfering with this picture, I don't care what it takes. Squash it.
She decides to take care of it once and for all by getting dressed to kill and hitting the club for a honeypot. Absolutely kick-ass use of Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Welcome to the Pleasure Dome here. This is like a Manhunter needle drop in how much it rules. The nightclub scene also features a quick cameo, since the DJ is played by West's wife and real-life DJ, Alice in Wonderland. Labatt follows Maxine into the chicks' room and kicks in the stall doors to reveal increasingly gross toilets. When he hits the last stall, he finds the window open and Maxine gone. He chases after her onto a loading dock, where porn cameraman Shepard puts his lights out with a Louisville slugger. He just young rocked his world. By the way, apparently Bacon didn't use a stunt double for this movie. So what, he took that fall with his 65-year-old knees? Labatt comes to with his hands cuffed to the steering wheel of his car, positioned underneath a junkyard press. He tries to bargain for his life, but Maxine presses the button so she can finally squash this problem once and for all. He gets crushed as his scream rises to a fever pitch and is suddenly stopped. A river of blood pours out, which the junkyard dogs lap up. Hey, did anyone card those pooches before serving them Labatt? Maxine leaves Teddy to handle things in true Gus Fring fashion.
What are Asians for?
At home, she washes off the blood and turns on the news to see another report about the Night Stalker.
Residents living in fear are praying that someone out there will come forward to finally put a stop to these vicious murders.
This is what Detective Williams has been begging her to do all movie, but now she hears it from someone on the TV and sees how it could help her career. She finally decides to take action, if only to stop the spoon-fed flashbacks playing in her head of the previous victims. They remind us that all of them went to a party in the hills, the same place Labatt told Maxine his client wanted her to go. She takes the address he gave her and heads there, with Torres and Williams on her trail. She reaches the house and takes a funicular up, which was inspired by a party in the hills West went to when he was new to LA. It's not a gondola though. I guess Amber doesn't know her cable-powered transportation systems.
Right under the Hollywood sign. And you gotta take a gondola to get there.
Ha! Idiot. She gets to the house and wanders around until she finds the man who's been stalking her. Her dear old dad, Reverend Miller. Dude's been a reverend killer this whole time. The movie treats it like a big reveal, but honestly, it was kind of obvious. He's the only character still around who appeared in X, even though we only saw him on the TV there. But I mean, this movie starts with his voice behind the camera. It was always gonna be the dad. Maxine's dad has taken after his daughter and gotten into the movie industry.
I'm making a film. And you are the star.
Maxine reacts like all of us to that line delivery. He blames Hollywood's sex, violence, and Satanism for stealing his little church mouse away from him. The protesters we've been seeing are his group of pious parents, and they're the ones making the snuff films, killing off Maxine's friends and co-workers. Another victim is revealed when he backs Maxine into a suitcase that spills Molly's dismembered body parts down the stairs. Her head falls out last, frozen in the same silent scream that made her famous. Pops uses a plastic bag to take Maxine down beneath his string of giant mothballs. Her unconscious state gives way to a flashback that shows the conclusion of her big audition. In a sharp contrast to Pearl's rejection and hysterics, Maxine's quiet confidence is what landed her the part.
Y'all should cast me in this movie.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because I'm a star.
Funny how delivery makes all the difference. Good.
Because I'm a star.
Bad. Maxine wakes up to lights, camera, monologue.
Ezekiel 16, chapter 14.
Ugh, Papa, don't preach. But she is in trouble deep, as he plans to use her to expose Hollywood as the cult it is. He's got a culty camera crew and everything. Too bad that one guy doesn't even know how to hold a boom. Maxine's dad is played by New Zealand actor Simon Prast, reprising the role from X. Here, he, hams it up quite a bit. He's definitely going for it. It does fit his character, an evangelical fire and brimstone preacher. It just feels like a huge burst of very different energy, kind of coming out of nowhere. He gives Maxine a choice to renounce her life of sin or forfeit her right to life. But before Maxine takes a serious hit to her personal brand, Torres shows up finally ready to play the leading man. A cultist pulls a gun, but Williams says bang bang, kiss kiss that gun goodbye, and sends him for a swim. Then all hell breaks loose, and there was a firefight! Dad drops the red hot brand and goes up in flames, just like Pearl's mom did in the last movie. Man, where's boiling corn water when you need it? He manages to cool off in the pool in a shot where we see 2 dead bodies in the background. Damn, those detectives work fast. They take cover and keep the count going as Torres shoots a cultist in the head and Williams gets another in the chest. One of the dead churchgoers in this scene was played by an extra named James Hunter, who filed a $500,000 lawsuit against Goth and A24 in January. He claims that Goth kicked him in the head during filming and then taunted him about it. I felt the need to mention this, even though we don't really know what the truth is here. Hunter's involvement in other lawsuits has called this one into question, and there's been no corroboration and so far no resolution to the whole thing. I'll just state my agnosticism and wait for the courts to figure this one out. The Reverend cuts his pool time short and runs away from the scene as the cops shoot down 2 cultists near the video camera. Did you get that on film? Then the movie remembers its titular character hasn't done anything in a while, so Maxine cuts herself free. That first cultist who was shot pulls her into the pool with him, but she finishes what Detective Williams began and kills him with a stab to the schnoz. She gets out of the pool as the cops take out 2 final cult members with a bunch of back and forth gunfire. They tell Maxine to stay behind while they go after the Reverend, but she ain't into playing a supporting role. She grabs a rifle and follows them up towards the Hollywood sign. The detectives and her dad have a showdown that might be cool, but we'll never know since it happens off screen. But here, they have an extra kill to make up for it. A cultist whose body she comes across. By the time she gets up there, Torres has already been shot. Would have liked to see it, but hey. Maxine puts pressure on his wound, but it's too late. He dies bleeding out in Maxine's arms, which sucks for him. She didn't even really like the guy. She ditches his body and then finds Detective Williams with a crucifix in her eye? Come on, we missed the cool part again? She tells Maxine that she shot her dad, then takes an absolutely comical tumble down the hill until she's gone, baby, gone. Maxine continues until, for the third fucking time, she finds a dying person in the hills. This time it's her dad, who's still got enough breath left for one more monologue. He tells her he created a monster while trying to shape her into a success, and begs her forgiveness for failing her. A police helicopter arrives overhead, and in the spotlight she always wanted, Maxine has a fantasy. A dream sequence shows how this whole incident could make her an overnight success. She could have talk show appearances and a Puritan 2 premiere at Mann's Chinese Theater, the actual theater on Hollywood Boulevard where Maxine had its premiere in real life, complete with protesters.
Yeah, it is.
It was fun. She snaps back to reality and recites her father's favorite phrase.
I will not accept a life I do not deserve.
Then she shoots his head point blank. Holy crap! That thing exploded like a pumpkin. Hell yeah! Justin Raleigh and his team at Fractured Effects provided a lot of the prosthetics, like Papa Miller's head, which looks so damn cool when it explodes. I love all these angles of it. They also made the crucifix gag. Michelle Monaghan wore a plate over her eye with a silicone face piece that went over it. A prop crucifix was then fastened to the plate, and the whole thing was applied by makeup artist Kevin Wasner.
It's so creepy and good, I love it.
To finish the effect, they included an eyeball that was shoved to the side. Gross.
That's so fucked up.
In a bit of a confusing ending, since we already had a fake fantasy flash forward, we now have a real flash forward to 1 month later, when Maxine's cutting a line of coke with her SAG card. Hope she saved enough drug money to pay her dues. She's finally achieved her dream.
You're a fucking movie star.
Even if that movie is still Puritan 2. On set, they take a moment of silence for Molly, but only a moment, then it's back to business. Show business! Maxine looks at her prop head and contemplates her newfound stardom.
I just never wanted to end.
It's a final line that, paired with her head that's frozen in a moment of time, perfectly encapsulates the trilogy's themes of mortality, fading youth, and the fleeting nature of fame. Maxine finally has everything she wanted, but the movie ends with her worrying about how long it'll last. How many victims met their maker in the City of Angels? Let's find out and get to the numbers. Oh no, please, you can't do this. You can't do this. We can talk. We can negotiate. Oh, you need me to count the numbers. Oh God, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, thy earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our We counted 18 kills in Maxine, with the victims maybe consisting of 13 men and 5 women. It was pretty hard to tell during the cultist shootout, but you know what? We did our best. This was actually the first time we've seen this count and gender breakdown on the show before, meaning Maxine delivered unto us a killigami. It also had more kills than both of its predecessors, with more than 4 times as many as Pearl. With a runtime of 104 minutes, Maxine had a kill on average every 5.78 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to John Labatt. It wasn't the most graphic, but it was the most terrifying. It's a unique, brutal end to a real nasty son of a bitch. The machete for lamest kill goes to Detective Torres, who was fatally injured off screen without any cool wounds like Williams' crucifix to the eye. And that's it. Maxine was released in 2024 to the strongest opening weekend of the trilogy, but also the most mixed reviews. Until next week, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count.
On the next Kill Count.
Mad scientist Jeffrey Franken loves his bride-to-be Elizabeth, but one tragic day, death does her part. Like a couple of parts. Now Jeffrey's building her a new body, one sex worker at a time.
Going out? Want a date? Do some action?
But Elizabeth isn't coming back as her Franken self. She's coming back as
Frankenhooker!
Want a date? Going out? Looking for some action?
This raunchy sleaze fest comes courtesy of Frank Henenlotter, the basket case behind Basket Case. But Frankenhooker has less horror and way more comedy than the first Basket Case.
What's all the fuss?
It's much more like the Basket Case sequels, with an actual budget and crew behind it. As with most exploitation movies, Frankenhooker will not be for everyone.
All in humanity.
It's got sex.
This reminds me of the St. Louis Arch.
Drugs.
This crack shit's killing them.
Sex on drugs.
The party ain't over yet.
And a titular character who's actually not in a lot of the movie.
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, she doesn't show up for like a whole hour. It's kind of a bummer, honestly. But don't worry, there's still plenty of bloody booby buddy mayhem in the meantime.
Utterly awesome.
So this week, stitch up a date and watch Frankenhooker.
This is the moment we've been waiting for.
Then on Friday, tune in for The Kill Count, only on Dead Meat.
Come on, this is your day. I don't want any credit.
Frankenhooker can currently be watched on the pictured streaming platforms. Demi always recommends you watch the movie for yourself before its kill count. It's the only way to have your own properly informed opinion. Kill counts are never meant to replace the experience of watching a film.
Thanks a lot for watching this kill count for Maxine. If you haven't already, check out the interview we did with Ty West over on the Scream Dreams podcast. That's a podcast with me, Barbara Crampton, and Catherine Corcoran, where we talk to tons of people in the horror industry. We talked to Ty right before Maxine came out and just explored how he felt about coming to the end of this accomplishment. And make no mistake, this trilogy is a huge fucking accomplishment. I don't care what you think about them, if they're your style, if they're not, like, this is impressive that they did this. Hats off to you, but not really, because people make fun of my hair. I want to thank some patrons like James Tanner Godwin, Victoria Oates, Duncan Rose, Dakota Finley, Blake Palmer, Craptation Reviews, Shelby Whitehead, and Will Kent. Thanks everyone, be good people.